Meeting with the Serenity Prayer. Please join me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. My name is Sandy, and I'm an alcoholic. This is a panel meeting. The panel is made up of three of our wonderful speakers, Jason J., Amy D., and Victor V. And they're going to speak on the theme of our convention, which is a way out. And this quote comes from, there is a solution on the first page of that chapter 2 in the book Alcoholics Anonymous. And it reads, "The tremendous fact for every one of us is that we have discovered a common solution. We have a way out on which we can absolutely agree and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action." That's on page 17. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to the panel.
I'll go first. Get it done. Good morning, Amy Spain Duncan. Good afternoon, Amy Spain Duncan, alcoholic. I know you guys are probably sick of me and Jason, but good news, Victor's here now, and
he's the way out.
He is the way out for all of us. And Paul's going to be here later, and our beautiful host and chair was like, guys, I didn't ask you to do this panel. I apologize to you when we came, but what the deal is this: we show up to be of service. That's what when we're invited to do something Alcoholics Anonymous, that's what we do, and whatever is necessary, that's what we do. We've put up chairs. Jason carried the podium one night to a conference, rode in the back of a pickup truck with the podium. So we're
keeps getting better. I'm inside now.
Yeah, we love Alcoholics Anonymous, and when you're talking about some washed up drunks, man, if there's a use for me, how tremendous is that? How tremendous is that fact? And I love the quote that we did in A Way Out, and again, our book talks about harmonious agreement, and a way out in which we can all absolutely agree. And I think that's why, it's important. Bill Wilson one time said that our obligation is an adequate representation of this program to the new man, that we have that responsibility. I don't want to give you Amy's program. We'll all end up drunk by this weekend. I need to make sure I'm presenting the program, and this speaks to so many things. This speaks to central office. This speaks to conference-approved literature. This speaks to the language in our book and how we portray this. This speaks to the 12 steps. This speaks to our primary purpose. If I came here and you guys were saying, hey, I think knitting is a really cool way to occupy my hands so I don't drink. That's not the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? If I am bringing in outside issues into Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm creating division. If I am not respecting the group conscience of my home group, I'm bringing in division. I'm causing discord, and I am the creator of chaos. God knows I love to be right, and I like a good debate in the home group, right? But am I the creator of chaos, or am I working as the 11th step asks me to do as an instrument of peace? Am I representing this program to the new man? Am I reading the black words off the white page in the first 164 of our literature? I was with a guy this weekend. He said the only time he ever walked out of a meeting, it was in a big book study, and they read from the page, and then the chairperson said was what Bill meant to say. And he was like, what? As my ego gets so carried away with me that I want to add, enhance, or take away from something that was perfectly designed and has worked for over 80 years. So that's where the ego must be smashed, and I have to keep an element of humility to this because I'm not that smart. They said, you're going to speak, you're going to do a workshop, and then you're going to do a panel. I said, this well's not that deep. I only got in everything I know I learned from you. Everything I know, I heard a speaker say, or I read in the literature. Like, this is what we do, and it's this simple program. We overcomplicate it. We want to analyze it. We, add places where nothing was supposed to be added, and we take away where nothing was supposed to be subtracted. And that's my ego, trying to fit and design this program instead of fitting myself for this program. And I think the simplest way for us to do this and to stay sober and to stay unified is to fit ourselves for the program. It was, the warning to us and every generation is the only way we can destroy this thing is from within. It's the only way this thing fails is from within. So am I putting principles before personality? Is my ego running the show? Can I sit down and let someone else be right and be fine with that? Am I argumentative? Am I a creator of chaos? Or am I exemplifying through love and service the deal? And an accurate description or depiction of that deal. I often, I like the part where it says, be careful to, see where religious people are right. AA has no opinion on your religious professions. It says if you have, that we have doctors and psychiatrists galore, and make use of them, for Christ's sake, make use for them. When somebody comes to me, we have a pamphlet on sponsorship. Out of general service, and it says what sponsorship is and what sponsorship isn't. And am I presenting myself as the end-all be-all for the new man? I'm just a messenger carrying this message. I'm not a banker. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a relationship counselor. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a sponsor. My job is to give you this information, work you through these 12 steps, share my experience with you in the best way I can. Do I overinflate my role? Do I oversell my things? My sponsor was really good, especially my initial sponsor, about not doing that, telling me my recovery was my responsibility. Putting that on me, not letting me put her on a pedestal because we all stand in clay feet. In Alcoholics Anonymous, all of us are this far from a drink, right? I'm not going to stay sober on yesterday's stuff. I heard somebody say my arm hasn't grown an inch since I got here. Right? I'm still the same distance. I have this spiritual solution. I have this daily reprieve to keep me safe. And that means I start the morning with prayer. Right? There's so much we can learn and we can grow and we can enhance and enlarge. But are we doing it within the structure and the direction of Alcoholics Anonymous? Right? One thing I do, I love step 11. I'll get way off topic because I get off into this crazy place. The spiritual world is so big, right? And we're supposed to enlarge on our spiritual life and then make sure we're religious people, right? And spiritual folks. And we can really get into that step 11 to enlarge on our spiritual life. And I'll end up reading books like Eckhart Tolle and Alan Watts, and I get way out there, and then my head starts spinning. I don't know which ends up, and I'm still obsessed with self. At the end of the day, right? I'm trying to fix Amy through great spiritual teachings. And later I go to Buddhist temples and Indian powwows. And I'm all out there just trying to make Amy more spiritual so I can levitate and come into the meeting. And you all will all know how spiritual I am by looking at me, right? And I get all crazy and I get off in that stuff. And I'm brought back down to earth. Shoemaker wrote a poem called I Stand by the Door. My place is by the door. And he writes about how we have this obligation, or my position is at the door, so that when the man comes fumbling blindly for the knob, he would find me and I could bring him in. Right? Or that once inside, if terrified and scared by the things that might happen, he would go to run out, but I'm at the door to stop him and tell him he's safe. In that poem, Shoemaker talks about the men who seek to speak to God, and they go deep into the caverns once inside the door, and they go up into the highest towers, and they commune with God daily. He said, and they get so far away that they fail to hear the cries of the men still outside the door. So I will stand by the door. And I hope that I do that as we wane and wax and learn and grow and evolve and become the simple act of service and being the man at the door. That's my assignment. That keeps me right-sized. I'm not here to tell you guys something that'll blow you away and carry you forever. You're not gonna. I'm a girl from Kentucky, who used to drink every day, and today I don't. And that's the miracle, and it's that simple. You're on. I'm done. 17. Yay!
I hope I didn't swear out loud. Oh, man, my name's Jason. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jason.
I've been here 2 times already. All right. I got a shirt to remind me what I'm supposed to talk about. But I was reading where you got this from, and it says, we have a way out of which we can absolutely agree, and upon which we can join in brotherly and harmonious action. I didn't know what that word was, harmonious. So I looked it up. It says relationships, agreements, or discussions that are friendly and peaceful. And I'm not that guy, right? I'm the kind of guy that my sponsor said, if you find a group and you fall in love with it and it's perfect, you need to get out of it before you screw it up, right? And I was sitting here thinking, what is my way out? Right? What does that mean? Obviously, the steps of Alcoholics Anonymous introduced me to God, right? God brought me to AA brought me to God, right? And I get that. But look, this is going to sound corny and probably kind of like kumbaya or whatever, but really what this program is about love. Really, love and service is hey, you already talked. Oh, man, you believe that? I'm up here giving you my heart. I'm in some kumbaya thing, and you're over here going, service. Well, we're going to do some service too, but what I get out of this deal is, look, to me, I think one of the most important things you can do in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous when a new person comes in is remember their name. Yeah. Right? I remember the first time I went into a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, and somebody I'd never seen before said Jason. Right? And like I told you in my story last night, or this morning, I sat on a bus bench waiting for the bus because nobody would say my name. Right? And when I came in and a complete stranger knew my name, man, I felt part of. So if you're in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, it's our responsibility to go find that person. It's our responsibility to do that. And I remember that, to me, the way I got out of things is every time I do something for somebody else, I get a feeling of gratitude. Right? And that gratitude is what keeps me to keep coming back and keep showing up when it's not convenient or necessary. And I remember at my home group at one time, there was that big book study, and once a month they had birthdays, right? And it's a long night, right? And everybody has a birthday, gets to talk, and it's just like, oh. So I'm sitting in the back, and this lady, Kate, gets up, and she has 1 year of sobriety. And she's going on and on and on and on. And so we're in the back row making fun of her and joking around and doing what you guys, well, you probably don't do that in Arkansas, but yeah, brotherly love or whatever that thing just said, right? But my group, we discuss what everybody's talking about up front, right? And she goes to sit down and she jumps back up to the podium and says, I need to say something else. And we're like, hey, you only get to share once at this meeting, And she goes, I need to thank a few more people. And she goes, I need to thank Jason. And I'm like, uh-oh. So everybody's staring at me, and I was like, what did I do, right? And she goes, my very first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, I was sitting in out the parking lot out here, scared to death. And my wife, or my husband and my kids told me I couldn't come back home until I figured out a solution to my problem, or I got some help. And I sat in my car and I drank because I didn't know if I was an alcoholic or if I wasn't an alcoholic. And all I know how to do is drink. And she said, I got the courage up to walk in. The first person that came up to me was Jason. He shook my hand and welcomed me to Alcoholics Anonymous. And then I started crying, and he automatically sent me over to some women. And those women, because I'm not that guy, right? I'm not the kumbaya guy like I just said I was. But she said those women loved me, and one of them became my sponsor. But if it wasn't for Jason going out of his way, I wouldn't have came back, right? I got more out of that than she did, because for once in my life, I got out of self, and I didn't know it. This guy Billy Smith used to say that Alcoholics Anonymous is run on point system, right? If you do something for somebody and you don't tell anybody and nobody finds out you did it, you get 2 points, right? If you do something for somebody, you don't tell anybody you did it, but everybody finds out you did it, you only get 1 point. If you do something for somebody and you tell somebody you did it and you tell everybody you did it, you get minus 2 points. He said, come back in 2 weeks and tell me how many points you had. I was like negative 10, right? I'm the kind of guy that does the least amount of work for the biggest applause, right? But the thing is what happened for me is I started doing these things and I started taking action and my life got better. Today I know that everything I have, everything that's of value or any good, anything that's ever going to have any kind of meaning or purpose is from helping somebody else. Right? So I come here and my way out is out of myself and service and that kumbaya stuff. Thanks. Victor, you got a long. They're going to ask. Hey, and we're going to let you ask questions afterward because Victor somewhat speaks English, some not.
English. My name is Victor, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Victor.
It's 3:22, so
All you, brother.
about 30 minutes of questions.
Yeah.
Hey, feel free. They're easy out
They're
there.
easy.
guys are great.
They love you no
Easy,
matter what.
all right. English is my third language. Anyway, well, what they said, this is what I was going to say. You know, when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, the only thing I wanted to do was stop. And what helped me is, and before I start, every time I'm in a place like this or in this position, I always like to thank people who take those meetings or these meetings into those places like prisons and rehabs. And for me, it's prison. You know, I'm a graduate from the Texas Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
You know, I only spent 10 years in there, but I'm grateful for the people who carry this message. And for me, it's like they've been saying before me, is like to carry the message of Alcoholics Anonymous. You know, there was a beautiful man in the place that I was at who took it upon himself after being in there all day at work to go to his home group, bring people from that meeting. There are members of Alcoholics Anonymous in good standing. Bring them back into that unit to share their stories, experiencing hope, and to even sponsor some people, you know. And because of those people who take that time and went into that prison, somebody as dumb as me is able to be here today with y'all talking about a way out. You know, for me, the biggest thing that I got out of this is what everybody gets, is a relationship with this beautiful higher power that I choose to call God. You know, that's the biggest thing that I ever got for me in this program, because that's what makes me face every day. And in order for me to get there, I had to follow these beautiful steps, and I couldn't do it on myself. I'm pretty smart. I'm from Texas, you know. I'm pretty smart. I am a Dallas Cowboy fan, you know. So I know next year is our year. I promise, you know. Next year's our year. Look at that. That is Cowboys, man. Next year's our year, man. You know, but for me, coming in here, what I had to realize is that I didn't know anything. You know, I'm not smarter than anybody. I'm not tougher. And what's happened in my life is no less bottom than anybody else's in here. But when I came in here, what attracted me is that the way out. Is the way you people acted, the way you people treated me, even in spite of how I behaved. The way y'all treated me and showed me love and patience, and not gave me advice, but gave me those little simple steps. You know, I've never been told what to do and what not to do. I've been told to read, to write it, to make a little inventory, and to make a decision on myself. When I got out of my college and I came into Arkansas, you know, I'm a gangster. I tell people I'm a gangster. So when I got out of prison, I moved in with my mom, you know. I'm that type of gangster, you know. And I moved in with my mom, and I didn't know what to do. You know, I remember calling Sonny, and he's like, the first sponsor that I had. I said, Sonny, how are we going to do this, you know? How are we going to sponsor from over there to over here? And I'm not saying this is the right way to do it or the wrong way. He said, I'm not going to sponsor you from Texas. He says, you need to go to a meeting. I said, how do I do that? He says, go into the yellow. Back then they had books, the yellow book. He said, get a yellow book, look for Alcoholics Anonymous. There's a number there. Somebody will probably tell you where the meeting's at. And if you're lucky, they might even give you a ride. I didn't need a ride because I'm a gangster. I'm riding my mom's car, you know, acting like it's mine, you know. And I remember showing up to this meeting and you know, when I was in prison, I always had a plan. You know, I always knew when I get out, I'm going to do this, and that, you know. I think there's an old boxer named Mike Tyson, you know, not the actor, the actual boxer. And you know, he was knocking all these grown men up, and he was going to fight somebody, and everybody kept on. They went to go interview this gentleman that he was going to fight, and he says, man, I got a plan for Mike Tyson. I've been watching his videos. I see how he boxes, how he stands. He goes, I got a plan. I'm going to beat him. And they went to go Mike Tyson said, man, that guy says he's got a plan for you. And Mike Tyson said the most famous words he ever said, everybody's got a plan till you get hit in the mouth, you know. So when I was in prison, I'm going to get out. I'm going to get a girl. I'm going to get a family. I'm going to get a job, you know, all these little plans. And when I got out, I'm living with my mom. You know, it's kind of hard to date when you're living. Anyway, so I went to my first meeting. I learned to tell them that she was living with me, you know. Yeah, I'm sorry. But I'm going to my first meeting, and I'm walking there, and everything inside me is telling me, don't come back till tomorrow. Like, come back tomorrow. Like, what's the difference? And as I'm walking, everything inside of me is telling me to come back tomorrow. And I'm walking up to this meeting, and this beautiful man says, "Are you a friend of Bill W.?" And I'm like, "Yes, sir. He saved my life. You know, that man saved my life. These beautiful states saved my life." And I say all that to say is that little simple thing. That little simple thing. You don't have to pay off my mortgage. I mean, if you want to, I'm right here. You know, you don't have to do, I don't have to do all those big things. It's those little simple things that get me out of my way to be able to be of service to somebody else, especially the people that I don't agree with. I can always be nice. I can always be helpful to the people who are Dallas Cowboy fans, to the people who agree with me in everything. It's easy to be nice to them and be of service to them. It's when I allow myself to be of service to everybody else, because somebody did it for me. You know, what I learned when I came in here is that I'm a coward. Left to my own devices, like I'm a coward. The only strength I find to do the things that I need to do in order to have this way out and in order to live a genuinely happy and free life is to get out of my way and allow myself to be of service to somebody else. That's the only thing that's ever worked in my life. It's helped me live with all the horrible things that I did. It's helped me face every day. It's helped me be able to love and allow to be loved. That's the other part. It's also to allow somebody to help me. You know, I'm prideful. I'll cut your yard. Well, I won't cut your yard today, but I'll be as much service as I can to you. But when it comes for me to asking help, like, I'd rather not. And it's difficult sometimes to allow somebody to help me. But what I've been told, and I know most of y'all have been told because we're from Arkansas too, is it's like I'm robbing somebody of that feeling of being of service. You know, today what I've learned is this beautiful power that allows me to be here and be happy and be free and face every day is to remove everything that I think I know is right and allow God to show me, to have it in all in faith. And I don't want to sound like a preacher, but to have it, and I'm not religious at all, but I tell you today that I don't believe that there's a God. Like, I know without a doubt that there is a God, that it's not me, it's not you, and the best way to serve Him is to allow myself to follow these simple suggestions and principles regardless of what I think. Because this thing right here can always justify a reason for me to not do it. I don't struggle with how to do it. I know I don't want to do it. I want to do it today, but in the beginning, I never wanted to be honest. Being honest always got me in trouble. I didn't know what prayer was. I knew what it was. I just didn't know. It didn't make sense on how prayer works. You're asking me to say these words that I don't mean to something that I don't see. How does it work? And what y'all told me is just do it. Just do it. And today I know prayer works. Without a doubt in my life, I know. And as long as I've been here, the more I come, the more I realize that I don't know anything. Zero. All I know is when I get out of the way and I allow myself for this program to work, things that are not supposed to happen. And I never can predict them. You know, the way out for most of us, for all of us, for me, is these beautiful 12 steps. And what I try to do, I remember when I was going to sponsor my first gentleman who asked me to sponsor him, I go to Don and I say, "Hey, Don, I don't know what to do, man. Like, what am I going to do? What if I kill him? What if borrow money? Or I don't know what to do." He goes, "Victor, that's what we got a book for. Yeah. You know, you don't do anything. You just take them through that book. That's it. I don't know anything. I don't have all the answers. I have zero answers. Zero. If what I'm saying is not reconciled through that book, don't listen to me at all, because I'm in a rant anyway. But I'm going to leave some time for them to answer questions.
You're doing just fine. Going up 20
You're doing
minutes,
great.
hour.
Another
You know what I
20
mean? Start preaching.
I'm going to start preaching. Well, I think Lee's going to have some questions. Thank you. Oh, this is beautiful. You're all cured.
It's all good.
Oh, so none of you want to talk?
That's how it feels.
Yay! What a great
Hi, I'm Marky. I'm an alcoholic. This is maybe a downer of a question, which is why I didn't want to start with it, but hey, somebody's got to do it. Yeah. So I've got considerable time in the program, and when I change home groups every once in a while, due to moving or whatever, to make it more convenient, that's the truth. But, and then it's time for the new officers, to get elected, and very few people show up at the business meeting, and it's like, oh my God, should I be the GSR of this group? And I think, no. Well, then nobody's stepping up, so I go, okay, I'll be the GSR. Oh, thanks, Margie, we need to do it. Yeah. So anyway, after that was some years ago, and I talked to somebody, a really old timer in the program, and said, how do you still do the kind of service work that we did, when we were like gung-ho and, nude? She said, no, I don't. And that kind of surprised me. She said, even though you may think nobody's going to step up, if you don't step up, somebody's going to step up. Just give it just another minute. So what do you think of that? Like, once you get to be an old-timer, should you step away and allow people to take these service positions or step in as needed?
I would say that's on.
So my home group, we have a spirit of rotation that we follow in Alcoholics Anonymous. So, even if they're the best person in the world, like I was the H&I chair for my home group because, like Victor, I really have a loving, I value the fact that we go into places where I used to be, and you would come in and bring a message, and so I want to do that for others. So as the H&I chair, it's my passion, it's kind of my jam, and I did it for 2 years, and they were like, spirit of rotation, and I was like, but I'm doing so well at it. I've got us lined up at 3 different places. Nobody else can do it like that, But the spirit of rotation is what allows for someone else to come in and do that. But what I got to do is the going out, like we do in committees, right? So when you have these events, these take a lot of things to put on. You have that spirit of rotation, but the guy that did it last time sticks around to teach the guy that's new and maybe hasn't done it before. So, in my home group, I'm no longer the H&I chair, but I'm a source of information and connection for the current H&I chair, right? And for the next one. So I can still be of service without holding the position, so to speak, because we need alternates for when the kids are sick or I've got to work late or I can't make it. You need somebody that kind of knows what they're doing that can step in. And we also need people that teach the new person how to do what position I'm leaving. But I hate that, nobody's showing up to the business meeting and those kind of things. And I don't know, I found a pocket of enthusiasm in Louisville where I get to be, and we have plenty of folks that are always kind of ready to do that. And sometimes people just need the nudge. And what I like to do is I wait till somebody gets up and goes to the bathroom, and then we vote them in. So that when they come back to the room, we all applaud on their new position. And that helps fill the service spots.
What is the dumbest question that a newcomer's ever asked you?
I don't know.
Was it one you asked?
I know, that's what I'm thinking. Was it really that dumb that you asked?
Was it that dumb? Yeah.
Maybe that question.
That's Jason. That's a Jason.
I don't know what the dumbest question is. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna.
Can we phone a friend? I gotta call my sponsor real fast.
I tell you what, I wasn't asked, I think, and you guys might understand this too, I don't think it was a dumb question, but oftentimes newcomers, when you're taking them through the steps, everybody's willing in the beginning, they want to do anything, but at some point they balk. And I used to 12 stomp women. I didn't mention that earlier, but I didn't 12 step, I 12 stomped. And so if you asked me to sponsor you, my home group would get behind me like, pick somebody else. And so I needed a willing participant to come through the steps, and I would get women that balked. And I remember we were talking about prayer, Victor, and Jason, it's such a big part of what we do, and our book is filled with prayers, and we say words like this, or we ask God, that means pray. And I told her, hey, we got to say these prayers. And she said she didn't believe in God, and I said, that's a moot point. You're going to say these prayers. And she wanted to get into this whole thing about why she didn't, and her mind, I give a shit. I don't care.
Did you swear?
I caught myself. I said, I don't care. I'm not asking you about your philosophy or your childhood trauma. I don't care. You do what I say. I'm your sponsor. Because I did what my sponsor said. So you're going to say the prayers. And again, she comes back with all the reasons she can't pray and all that. And I finally kind of grabbed her up, because I used to put my hands on people, and I got her close to me so she'd know I was serious. And I said, I didn't ask you what you believed. I told you to say the prayers. And she just looked at me startled. And I said, look, you're confused. I'm not doing this because I like you. I'm doing this because they told me I had to if I want to live. You see why they didn't want me around the newcomer at all. So I don't know that it was a stupid question. I think my response to it was stupid because I didn't have the patience, love, and tolerance necessary to field, resistance and handle it appropriately. But what I do now is, like, no matter what the question, sometimes I kind of rub my temple like Jason's sponsor that's when he's in trouble. Like, I don't know, or and just for fun, if it's a really ridiculous question, I'll send them to. I said, why don't you go ask Pete in the corner that question, see what his response is, to do that with it. But we try to show patience, love, and tolerance to everybody, and you never want to make the newcomer feel like I didn't know what I was doing. I asked a lot of questions. I asked questions like, what do you do if you cuss your boss and you get fired, hypothetically? I had just done that this morning. So I asked a lot of questions when I got here, and thank you for your guys' love and tolerance and patience of me, like Victor was saying, that you let me ask the dumb questions and you answered me the best way you could.
So I think for me, I don't want to say it was a dumb question, but it was one of those questions where you just kind of look at him and go, you got to be kidding me?
Yeah.
A kid I was sponsoring got 30 days, and he asked me, if I drink, do I go to 29 or do I go to 0? So I don't know if that's a dumb question or if that was just, all right, I get that. You know what I mean? And then I started thinking about, that's a good question.
Hey, my name's Owen. I'm an alcoholic. So I've been around now for about 9 months. And, of course, reading the book a lot, it tells me that I have a disease that is progressive and will kill me. And I come to these meetings, and of course I go to a lot of meetings, so I see a lot of birthday nights. And I see these people, and obviously y'all are still very active in your recovery, but I see people come in and sit down with 5 years, 10 years, 20 years that I've never seen at a meeting before. So in reading, my disease is progressive and will kill me, it's 9 months progressed with my 9 months of recovery. I mean, do they know something I don't know that, 25 years or whatever? If it seems like it'd be 25 years worse to me. Thank you.
Good luck with that, Victor.
Good luck with that, Victor.
I don't even know what the question is.
Go ahead, Amy. You answer everything.
Boys. I always do this because there are people that are in varying degrees of engagement with their sobriety. It is a question for you, right? I was sufficiently horrified by my disease. I was beaten into a state of reasonableness, badly mangled. I don't got a lot of, and I'm getting older, so I don't have a lot of room to play. So I follow the instructions because I don't know which piece of the Jenga is holding this circus together, so I'm not going to start pulling parts out. The other thing is, I've met so many people along the way, and we were talking about this earlier, me and some of the ladies. I meet women and men who used to have. I used to have 10 years. I used to have 8 years. I used to have 20 years. I never want to be a woman that used to have 12 years. So I stay committed to what I'm doing. And one of the things I talk about a lot that Lee likes is, I present you with this question: how free do you want to be? How much gold do you want to discover? You know, maybe we come in just enough to get the pressure off the police, off the wives off our back, get the job back, and maybe that's good enough for you. And maybe that's all you need. I'm a greedy mofo. I always want it more. And when it feels good, I want more. And I want to be rocketed to the fourth dimension of existence. I can't live a boring or dull life. I need happy, joyous, and free. I want the juice of life to run down my elbow while I eat it. And to do that, I got to do these things. So you decide, how free do you want to be, buddy? And then you act accordingly.
There you go.
The more she cheered, the more you got.
Yeah! You going to church?
Hey, and on that, for me, is like what I had learned is it's none of my business what somebody else does.
Yeah.
You know, I've been to meetings. I'm not saying in Arkansas or Texas, but I've been to meetings where I hear some people say they've got so many years, but they don't have a sponsor, or they don't work steps, and it works for them. You know, when I went to my sponsor, he told me to mind my own business, and he also said, he goes, Victor, there's people who don't have a sponsor who work the steps they're probably not alcoholics, and they're hanging out with us, you know. And I don't mean that I don't know. All I know is when I followed that book, and like everybody else is in here, that I need to be concerned about what works for me. I know all the time that I tried to stop drinking and I couldn't. I know all the horrible things that I did and I wanted to stop drinking and I couldn't. I know all the promises that I broke and all that, and even coming in here, I couldn't stop. So for me, is I need to concentrate on what's me. I needed to find out if I'm an alcoholic, not because I spent 10 years in prison, not because I don't know if you can tell I'm kind of Mexican, you know, not because I'm Mexican, not because of any of that, you know. It's because when I wanted to stop, I couldn't, and when I wanted to control the drinking, that I couldn't, you know. And that's, for me, I needed to work what worked for me. It not that I don't care about what works for y'all, but I needed to do what worked for me and kind of mind my own business.
Yeah.
It's not a question, it's a statement that kind of piggyback on what he said. What I found out in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says rarely have we seen a person fail that has thoroughly followed their path. Now, if I do what they did, I'm going to get what they got.
Yeah.
One of the dumbest questions that I thought when he asked that question, do I have to do it?
I'm Melissa, and I'm an alcoholic. Hey, Melissa. I've been in this program a long time. But what do you do when your character defects keep popping up no matter what you do? I get frustrated, and I get angry with people, and I lash out. And my first sponsor said to me, mean what you say what you mean, but don't say it mean. I understand the first part of that. I cannot do the second part. I want to be as mean to people when I'm frustrated as I can. What do you do?
That's actually covered in 6 and 7. So in 6, we pray for the willingness. So you enjoy it, so you're not willing to let it go. That's what we do, right? I hold on to things that I like, secretly or not secretly. And so I have to pray for the willingness to have God to remove these. And if they're still working for me or I'm still getting some pleasure from them, I'm not going to, I want to gossip with my girlfriends, right? Or like Jason, I want to sit in the back and take your inventory, right? I get a certain amount of pleasure out of it.
Yeah, I'm right here.
I like it. I know. I take Jason's inventory all the time, but I tell him about it. But I get a certain, right? And so that's why 6 tells us that we have to become willing, right? And then in 7, we're ready to let him go. But until I'm done with it, until it bothers me, and I get the rage and the wrath, I do that. But it started to bother me. I didn't want, it was very necessary for my survival, or so I believed, that you were afraid of me, that I could cause fear in you, though you wouldn't mess with me. And then the more and more sober I got, I didn't want people to be scared of me. I didn't want to be that person that people were scared of anymore. So this God conscious started kind of eating away at me, and it started to bother me and no longer served me. And then I was ready to really let it go, through that 6 and into that 7 and work opposite direction of it. How do I control the impulse of rage? Because I go from 0 to now you die in about 0.3, right? And that work came in the pause. I used to say I overshoot the pause. Pause when agitated or doubtful. Man, I missed the pause every time. I was like straight into, I got you by the throat. What happened? Meditation. Meditation allowed me a pause. Meditation allowed me to slow down my response, and I began to respond instead of react through meditation, through a breath work. I always say meditation makes me feel connected and one, and if I feel connected to you, I am less likely to hit you in the face. So meditation helps me to capture the pause, to feel connected to you. It builds my patience. And that on 86, 87, 88, it talks about that. It says we're in danger, right, of excitement and fear, worry, and anger. I'm in danger, and the only way to lessen the danger of that is to allow God to discipline me in the way He has just outlined, right? Because we alcoholics are undisciplined, period. And so I have to be disciplined of tongue and pen so that I don't offend or hurt my brothers and sisters anymore.
All right, well, that's way too much from my head, right? What I have to do is before I respond, I have to touch my tongue to every tooth in my mouth, right, before I respond to something. But most importantly, what I do when I get to that rage or that situation, my sponsor says I have to ask myself one question. Do I owe this person amends or forgiveness? Right? Do I owe this institution amends or forgiveness? And when I do that before I attack, I realize that I have a part in it, right? And what my mistake is that, and I'm able to walk away. And then I just go, to somebody I sponsor and give them my opinion, and they agree with it, and then I feel much better.
Yeah.
But I do 6 or 7 sometimes.
And that's the part that I was going to hit it is the amends. For me, I ask God to remove these things from me, see how it can be of service. But what taught me is how I treat people is when I go make that amends. Because when I make amends, it's not the $20 that I stole, it's how it made you feel that I took that money. That my mom has to hide that purse from me, or that nobody can trust me or their money around me. So when I go make amends, it's not those measly $20 that I took. It's everything that I made them feel. And when I'm through step work and with the sponsor, when I'm able to see and feel the pain that I'm causing, it's very hard for me to do it again. I'm not a pushover, but it's very hard for me to harm somebody on purpose, even if it's justified. Most of the
He's a good guy.
I don't know about a good
Wow.
Good afternoon. Frank, alcoholic.
Hi, Frank.
Sobriety date is July 24th of 1976.
Wow.
It's a good deal, huh? But my question is for Jason. Do either you or Carl ever find it necessary to change your handicap?
Well, look, if we're going to be honest, and it's Arkansas, right? They call me Jason, which way did it go, Johnson? And I only put down scores, so I stay a handicap of 18, right? When I got down to 15, I started losing a lot of money. Oh, Steve's right here. Sorry. I put the right score down every time. But yes, I get a stroke every hole.
That's funny.
Not really. Now I'm sweating. Steve's right here.
Hey, y'all. I'm Chris, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Chris.
What are some of your best tips for step 4?
Do it.
Step 4 isn't hard, man.
Yeah.
The hard 1 is hard,
Yeah.
9 is hard, and 12 is hard. 9 is hard because I have to actually deal with people, and 12 I have to give back. For me, the 4th step, I already know I'm a good guy. I just got to figure out where it's at in those columns. But to me, I sponsor a lot of guys, man, and that seems to be the excuse. The 4th step isn't meant to be. The book does the step work. The book does the 4th step. You don't do the inventory. The book does the inventory. And when somebody explained that to me, and I take what's out of that book and I do it like that, my book does my inventory, right? And when I looked at it that way, I becoming a victim. No amen or anything?
For me, that step 4, when I got introduced with this program, it was explained to me, it's like, if I'm going to go clean my garage, do I want to keep the same things and rearrange it? If my wife says, hey, go clean the garage, that means I got to keep the same thing and rearrange it. But if she says, I want you to throw everything out and I'm going to buy you brand new stuff, I'll do it today. Yeah. And that's what I'm doing with these 4 steps. I'm getting rid of all this stuff and replacing it with new stuff. And it's telling me in that book, that once I do that 3rd step prayer, that I immediately have to start on it. Yes, and there's no maybe, it's just jump in the water, man. Yeah. Just jump, and you'll be amazed how our life turns out.
What?
She said it in Spanish.
She said it. That's why I didn't understand it.
So, hey everyone, my name is Jeremy. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Jeremy.
So, you've talked a lot about service today. What is your most powerful experience of being of service to Alcoholics Anonymous?
I was assistant garbage taker outer.
I moved chairs for a long time. I've never done service that I regretted. I've never gone to be of service, whether it's be making the coffee, unlocking the building, doing a panel, sponsoring a woman, giving a ride. There is nothing that I've ever done in Alcoholics Anonymous that I thought, well, I wish I hadn't done that. I get rewarded every time. But I think one of the most, I had a sponsee, and she lived way out in the west end of Louisville. I live in the south end. She lived in the west end at a halfway house down on 48th Street. And I was tired, and I'd been running all week. And man, I was reluctant to go, and I was thinking of 1,000 reasons not to go. I mean, I thought she's not going to stay sober anyway. I take women through the steps, and they get to 3 and don't hear from them anymore, or they get to 9. And I was really just talking myself out of this commitment that I had made. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go, just going to do it. And I got in my car, and I drove the 20 minutes to 48th Street. And I'm sitting in the backyard with this woman, and she's telling me something. And all of a sudden, it's like she changed right in front of me. And I knew that I was looking at God. I was looking at God. Kind of took my breath away. And I thought I would have missed this. I would have missed this if I had listened to myself and stayed home and watched Bones and played on my phone or whatever I was going to do. I would have missed this. And I've sat across from a lot of women, and I've heard a lot of stories, and I've seen a lot of things. But there was just something that day sitting in the backyard of that halfway house at that picnic table, and the way the sun hit her. And I felt connected to her. I saw her as God, as a child of God, as a part of that universal light and being. And it brought tears to my eyes and took a breath out of my body. And I thought, I would have missed this. So I never want to miss an opportunity for be of service, because I don't know what's best for me, and I don't know where the magic's hidden. I don't know where the special moments are going to be. So I got to show up, or else I'll miss it.
I think the best service work for me is when I don't know I did it.
Yeah.
Right? When somebody... Thank God that lady left. She would have been going, amen. You know what I mean? No, really. There'll be times in your sobriety you'll go to a meeting and somebody will come up to you and say, thank you saved my life, or thank you said this. That's the time, that's the most important part, right? Because I didn't even know I was doing it. You know, the problem with Alcoholics Anonymous is it makes you better than you really want to be, right?
Oh, wait. I'll give you an amen on that.
Oh, finally, I'm done. I'm just going to stop there. Thank you, baby Jesus.
For me, the service is it allows me to live with the things that I've done. It's the best way that I don't know. There's one thing, but usually it's when I don't want to do something that I end up doing. You know, the career that I have today, for example, I had just gotten out of that college and I was going to meetings every day, and then I got a job as a painter, and I'm not that type of Mexican, man, at all. Like, at all, man. And I got this job as a painter, and I'm painting, and I'm telling my sponsor, like, man, like, it's bullcorn, man, you know, all this and all that, and I'm complaining, and then they're having this big camp out in AA up here at the Buffalo, and they're like, are you going? And I'm like, man, I ain't going to that thing. Forget that thing. They needed somebody to go help set up, and I'm like, I ain't going. I'm not going. I'm tired of these old people, and I was young back then. I mean, 20 years, oh my God. Anyway, so what do I end up doing? I end up going. And next thing I know, I ended up meeting somebody who had asked me if I spoke Spanish. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's easy for me. I don't know. You know, they needed. And next thing I know, you know, because of just showing up and when I didn't want to do it, you know, the career that I have today started right there. And it's a career that I would have never imagined. I didn't even know it existed, you know, and it's not anyway. But for me, being of service is usually I get to live with the things that I've done. I'm free, and I'm kind of happy most of the time. Most of the time, except when the cow.
We're done.
Well, thank you to our panel. That was great. Thank you for those of you that came up with the questions. And we will close now with the Lord's Prayer.